And we are live. I'm repeating on somebody's.
Yeah, I can hear it. I'm using headphones, so it shouldn't be me.
Okay.
So am I.
I'll just talk really low. Hello and welcome to Handgun Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Machad from the wild woods of central Maine, and this is your home for all the news, information, and discussion in the handgunning world. This week, we celebrate episode 200 of Handgun Radio by having a roundtable discussion with some of our contributors and listeners. So as always, Handgun Radio is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network. And please check out the Patriot Patch Company for their awesome patches and other high-quality items. Visit patriotpatch.co for more information. And they've been having a lot of cool artist like proof renditions coming with the latest patch of the month patches. So also shop Amazon using our affiliate link at firearmsradio.tv/Amazon. And please help support Handgun Radio. Head over to firearmsradio.tv/pledge and click on HGR. And there are a bunch of different pledge levels, and we really appreciate it. So episode 200, we have like 10 times the amount of people that we have on the show usually. Hey, we got Jordan. There's Jordan. Jordan was the one tapping on his microphone, everybody, that you heard. see Daniel had sent me a message as well. That's we like the realism here at Handgun Radio.
Indeed.
So we have Brett, we have Daniel Waters, from the 1911 episodes, the Beretta episodes, and everything other episodes fame. We have Mr. Grant Cunningham. We have listener of the show, Jason. We have Jordan Bell and listener Bob, also a Steyer fan. So Grant, you're going to like him.
Oh, good.
So, episode 200. We tried to do, I think on the last time we did an episode here, we tried to do a episode of like a roundtable, but it didn't work out as well. So hopefully this time we'll do a little bit better. We have some topics to discuss, but first we have a message from Mr. Weird, the one person missing from the roundtable. So he chose to be completely away from this and everything. I don't understand why.
Because he's a slacker. Why? That's all we need to know.
It must be because he's from Massachusetts. Is that it?
I hope he's at least listening. You know.
I think he might be listening. He is within listening range. So just gonna send. I'll just to rub it in his face. I'll send the link to him. So, but he did have a message for us, and I am going to play that here. So let me turn it up. If anybody talks, you'll hear yourself, but we're going to turn this up and let you hear what Weird had to say for the 200th episode.
Hi, Ryan and company. 200 episodes of Handgun Radio, and I had to be on vacation. Okay, you know you're a podcast junkie when you say that. Doesn't seem like that long ago when I heard Jake interviewing Ryan about his new show on the Firearms Radio Network, and I said, wow, another Mainer who likes old revolvers? So I contacted Ryan and asked if he'd like to have me on as a guest. And I sort of never went home after that. This is such a fun show to do. And I've met some amazing people through the years, both guests and friends of the show, and also listeners. Also, I love that Ryan has allowed me to run the drink segment on the show. I know it's a slightly contentious segment, as not all of you share my love of cocktails. But we certainly agree that there's a large segment of the shooting population that enjoys a fine beer or a quality whiskey after a nice trip to the range. Or maybe even a dry martini. Let's see if we can do 200 more, Ryan. It isn't getting old yet.
Well, there we go.
He needs to go into advertising.
Yeah. Weird is definitely the advertising junkie. So yes, thank you, Weird. We really appreciate it. Unfortunately, I know you couldn't be here, but you are here in spirit. And I don't have a drink segment, so.
Well, spirits then.
Spirits, exactly. There you go, Weird. Geez, Weird. Oh my God, that's how bad it is. I just called you Weird.
I am drinking a Founders KBS flavored stout, which is excellent in Weird's honor. So
perfect. What do you have, Grant? The world's finest kombucha.
No, I have a bottle of, well, actually a flask of well water from our kitchen sink
There you
in
go.
honor of Caleb Causey. Drink water.
I had a rusty nail.
Oh, Weird would appreciate this. Where is he? Why couldn't he be here? And good Lord. Jordan, I can't take you anywhere. All right, so with that, we're going to head into the main topic because, as anybody can tell, the 200th episode is not going to be the usual structured format that we have here. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from people who have been on the show, what you've been doing, how you've been, the latest stuff you've shot, questions you have, perhaps. So I think we will start with Grant. What's been going on, Grant?
Oh man. Gosh, I haven't really been doing a whole lot lately except logging. I mean, that's what my life is revolving around lately. So let's see. The last cool thing I shot, I haven't shot anything cool lately, just the same old stuff. And let's see. Been teaching a lot, and I just got back from recently a trip teaching in Arizona, and here in a couple of weeks I'll be heading to Texas for my first time teaching a class down there. So that's what I've been doing.
Very nice. Now, you didn't mention your book. So what's going on with your book?
Well, thank you for asking.
I was like, okay, he mentioned everything else. What the hell about the book?
Well, yeah, I just launched a new book, Protecting Your Homestead Using a Rifle to Defend Life on Your Property. And it's a book aimed at the person who lives on acreage or maybe lives out in the country somewhere other than a typical urban or suburban dwelling, and who has a necessity for protecting life beyond the bounds of their living room, perhaps out to the limits of their property. And I use life in the broadest sense, because those of us who do live in the country know that defensive gun uses may not be against human beings. They may be against predatory animals. In fact, all but one of my defensive gun uses have been against predatory animals. In one case, a rabid animal. So the things that we do out in the country and the ways that we protect ourselves are a little different than what is typically taught or talked about when we're talking about, say, defense inside the home. There's a lot of stuff that comes into it, a lot of things that go into it that don't go into typical home defense. And so that's what the book is about.
Yeah, I noticed you had been on Amazon like #1 for quite a while too, right?
Yeah, I was #1 new release on Amazon for a little over a week and a half. And I checked here just a little while ago. I'm no longer the #1 new release, but it was a good run while it lasted.
So basically you are the one-stop shop for everybody who wants to figure out how to basically protect themselves in the most practical way possible.
Oh, yes. I've got a book on defending yourself with a handgun. Of course, I've got 2 books on revolvers, defensive revolver fundamentals, actually 3 books on revolvers, but in terms of defensive techniques, I have 2 books there. And I also did a kind of a prepping book. It's kind of a cross between self-defense and prepping, and where that overlap is and how people can prepare for both at the same time. And so I guess I'm kind of turning into a one-stop shop. I guess I got to do a shotgun book now.
So I have one more question, then I'll turn it over to the fellas on the panel for any questions for you. But what do you think of the new Colt revolvers?
I've only had a chance to hold one. I have not shot one. I'm a little disappointed. Frankly, the fit and finish is not the Colt you remember by any stretch of the imagination. I'm particularly incensed that they called it a Cobra, which those of us who grew up with Colt Cobras know that, there's a particular connotation to that. And so I'm kind of ticked off about that. But other than that, I haven't actually had a chance to shoot one yet. I haven't had one show up in a class yet. I've had all kinds of other stuff show up in class. I've had Kimbers show up in class. I've had Korths show up in class, but not a Colt yet.
I look at them. I haven't had a chance to handle one. The shop that's local to me had one for like 2 days and then it was gone. But the trigger looks like it sits way back in the trigger guard. It doesn't look like there's much travel at all.
It doesn't feel like it's got as much travel. And after looking at a picture of their lock work, I can see why. Yeah, it doesn't feel like the Colts of old. In that regard, and
it sits far enough back that it looks like you could use a gloved finger.
Yeah, in fact, I think that's probably part of the design parameters. I know it was when we did the Kimber revolver. You'll notice that the trigger guard on a Kimber is enlarged, and for that very reason. So I'm sure that was part of their thinking. I mean, they are in Connecticut where it gets cold all the time,
right?
But I'm looking forward to having someone show up in class with one.
So does anybody have any questions for Grant?
I do. This is Brett. Talk to us about your involvement with the new Kimber K6. I know you had some input on the design of that pistol.
Yeah, I was on the design team for the K6 from the inception of the project, and through the last prototypes just before delivery. And so a lot of, we sat down and the big question out of the big question on their minds is if I were going to design a defensive revolver, what would it look like? So I started rattling off stuff. And I'm glad to say most of it made it into the design. All the important stuff made it into the design. That was important to me. So I'm very, very proud of the gun. It turned out exactly like I wanted. The lower priced models are coming with some grips that I don't really like. They've got these flat-sided rubber grips that are just awful. And you have to pay extra money to get up to one of the next models, in terms of finish, to get the nice rounded wood grips that we originally tested them with. And you can also get those grips from their online store. So you can buy the base model and upgrade the grips. But other than that, I've had a bunch of them in classes now. And it's kind of funny because a lot of people come to class with them not realizing that I had anything to do with the design, and then they're kind of surprised. And but especially in California, lots of them in California, surprisingly.
So what is different about it compared to other revolvers? I'm not a huge revolver guy, but what is new?
There's really, in terms of new, there are really only a couple of small things. The way that we integrated the sights into the gun is different than most revolvers today do. And one of the criteria was it had to have good sights. And so, well, how do you do that on a fixed sight revolver? And so we came up with a way to do that. I'm very happy with the design, particularly the rear sight that they came up with. And it worked out really well. Other than that, the gun is really an amalgam of design ideas that have been done before, but just never put together in one package. One of the things that I'm a firm believer in for defensive revolvers that it be double action only. And so I like having concealed hammer revolvers, enclosed hammer revolvers, like the Smith & Wesson Centennial. The issue with those guns, of course, is that they're only 5-shot. And being a big fan, a huge fan of the Colt Detective Special, I really wanted a 6-shot gun. And I thought, gosh, it would be really cool. Wouldn't it be really cool if the Centennial, the J-frame Centennial, were 6-shot? Why can't somebody make that? I wish somebody would make that for years. And then when Kimber asked me, of course, I jumped at the chance. And so the design, the 6-shot concealed hammer, double action only, and one of the design features was to make it as small as it could be and steel chamber 357 ammunition, because the market demands 357. And so the chief engineer on the project, a gal by the name of Maureen Lincoln, designed that cylinder. Did a very good job, and the smallest diameter cylinder chambering 357 Magnum that at least currently exists. So we ended up with a very, very small package, a 6-shot 357 Magnum revolver that's really not really too much bigger than a 5-shot J frame. And I think that was really quite an accomplishment to do that.
I mean, every time I handled one of these, and you know me, Grant, I'm a huge J-frame fan, and this thing is just incredible. It feels as comfortable as my J-frame, but you got 6 shots of 357.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time trying to get the contours of the grip right, and to get the even down to the width of the back strap. That was important too. And so I'm really happy with the feel of the gun. And I'm happy with the performance, and pretty much everything about the gun. And it was just when we shot the final prototypes, and we went through a lot of different things, trying different grip frame shapes and various things with the frame. And when we got to that point with that final prototype and got to shoot it, it was just, oh wow, yeah, this is perfect. We hit it,
Grant.
That was it. What's that?
This is Jordan. I got a question real quick.
Sure.
We did a T&E on the 3-inch K6S,
Mhm.
and I don't think it's been published yet. We do magazines, so you write it, you send it off, and it could be a while before it comes out, depending. But what did you have any input on the 3-inch model, and do you have any experience with it, and what do you think about it versus the the basic snub?
The 3-inch, I can tell you that was probably discussed on day one, because there were several in the group who had 3-inch revolvers and really, really liked them. And so that was a topic of discussion throughout the whole process.
You've always been a big proponent of 3-inch though, because I remember seeing in Mass Ayoub's Greatest Handguns of the World, he had a caption on a photo, and it was like Grant Cunningham 3-inch Colt something or other.
Yeah, it was a 3-inch Python.
3-inch Python from from your private stock.
Yeah, I also have a 3-inch Detective Special. And yeah, I like 3-inch guns. With the K6, I actually like the 2-inch. I think it balances, just in terms of visual appeal. I think it balances a little better with the design. But the 3-inch, there are a lot of people who like me have and love 3-inch guns. The 3-inch K frames, the 3-inch GP100, all great guns. And so it'll never sell great numbers because there aren't a lot of people who really like 3-inch guns. But I think it's kind of cool that they went ahead and did that.
Yeah, it is pretty neat. I've seen a lot of the K6 guns, well, relatively a lot in the stores, but I have yet to see a 3-inch. I was kind of surprised when we got it in. I was like, oh, wow, there is a 3-inch. And yeah, we had fun shooting that. It is a good gun. It's got a nice design. I like it.
Yeah, I don't know how many of the 3-inch guns they're making, because I think they recognize that the 3-inch guns aren't going to sell as well. That it's really kind of a niche item for those of us who are really into revolvers. But I'm really glad they did. That they went to the trouble of producing that gun.
Excellent. I also wanted to we got Dustin, another listener, just joined the show here. Dustin, how you doing?
Oh, not too bad. How about everybody else?
Oh, cannot hear you.
I can hear him.
You can hear him.
Oh,
I can't hear him.
Hello. I'll try it again.
I see his mouth moving. That's about it.
Unfortunately, on the podcast, we don't have lip readers. I wish we did. We'll come back to you once we get that figured out. So let's go over to Jason here. Jason, this is the first time on the show. Long-time listener. I've seen him commenting on quite a few things. Jason, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening. Episode 200. What have you shot recently?
A little bit of everything, actually. I actually had a buddy come up about 2 weeks ago, and we took everything I had out to the range and shot it. But primarily in the last couple of weeks, I've been messing with the shotgun a lot because turkey season just started in West Virginia. So I've been playing with that quite a bit, trying to get back in the habit, seeing where my patterns are, and went out this past weekend, did some trout fishing and some turkey hunting. Didn't see anything, though, unfortunately.
Nice.
Well, that sounds fun.
That's the one thing I kick myself for not having, and everybody, I'm going to get emailed about this. I do not own a shotgun right now.
Oh, wow. I actually used my granddad's Browning Magnum 12 is what I was hunting with. He passed away a few years ago, and I inherited the gun, and that's what I've been using the last couple years, turkey hunting. So it's a great gun. Yeah,
I really need to go get myself a shotgun. I've been talking about that every time. I really need one. I really need. This is how bad it was. I paid $75 at a gun show like 4 years ago to buy a single shot shotgun, and I used that thing for a couple of years, and then I sold it, and I have not had one since, and I am ashamed of myself.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Brian, 3 words for you: Ithaca Model 37.
Oh, that would be the one that I would buy.
Okay,
That's the Slam Fire, isn't it?
Yeah. Do the new ones have the disconnector, Grant?
Yes, they do.
No.
I've got a couple shotguns. I've got a Browning BPS and a Benelli Super Black Eagle. So I don't really need another shotgun, but I lust after A5s.
I don't need a shotgun with a disconnector, but I want one. I'm sorry, Grant. I know you're shaking your head.
There are plenty of Model 37s out there that do not have the disconnector. There are lots and lots of them.
I have a friend who just bought one of the Norinco 1897 copies, and I saw it, and it doesn't look that bad. It's pretty slick.
Does it cycle well?
Yeah, it really does. I was pretty impressed. I didn't get to shoot it, but I mean, it's smooth. It doesn't hitch up or anything.
Well, I'm actually, I would like to have a lever action 20 gauge, but nobody makes one yet.
That would be nice.
Ask Henry, he'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Henry. I think Henry has a lot of potential that they are probably going to tap.
It'll weigh 15 pounds, but they'll do it.
That or it'll load through the front of the tube, you know.
Yeah, that's more. Yeah.
Well, that can be handy sometimes.
So, Jason, what was the other questions? What are you interested in for firearms in the coming months or years?
Oh, I've been actually on kind of a semi-automatic buying jag just because I'm kind of, worried about the current political climate a little bit. So I just actually picked up a Tavor a couple weeks ago and have shot it a little bit. But as far as handguns go, revolvers. I love revolvers. I carry a little LCR every day, and I'm just obsessed with them. That's what I look at. That's primarily what I buy.
Those LCRs, I got to thank Weird. If you see it actually in the picture of that you see on my avatar there, that's the same day that Weird showed me. He had a 22 long rifle LCR and 38 special or 357 Magnum LCR, and that thing, even with full house loads, what we did was we put one of his 357 Magnum reloads in with a bunch of his 38 special reloads, and it was snappier. Yeah. But the thing really handled it well.
Yeah, it does. I was really shocked when I first shot it how well I could hold on target with it with the full 357s. I was surprised, and I carry it, like I said, I pocket carry it every day in a little Nemesis holster, and I love it.
And Grant, you can kind of speak to the difference there. I mean, I know you don't really work on LCRs at all much that I've seen, but it's definitely a big departure from what Ruger used to do with their lock work, right?
Actually, it's not all that different. truth be told. They actually took some cues from the original Service 6 Speed 6, the 6 series, and some cues from the SP101/GP100, which are functionally the same. So there's not really a lot new in that gun. What they did do is they changed the sear angle on the double action sear a little bit, and they did some other tweaks in geometry, but there's really not a lot new in that gun that they haven't done before. The really big thing was putting it all together and making it work in a very, very small package, and making the trigger pretty good. It's really quite a nice little gun. I'm really quite fond of those little things, and I have to point out that, in all fairness, when those came out, I predicted that they would self-destruct, that they wouldn't last, and here we are. I don't know, what is it, 6 years later, 7 years later, whatever it is, and those things just keep soldiering along. I was wrong. I admit it. And they did a good job with that gun. I must say. However, I died a little inside when you said you bought a Tavor. All right, I just.
It's great. It shoots well. It's a lot of fun to just mess around with.
The first thing that I did when you said that was look down at the little square that shows me what Grant's reaction.
I was waiting to see a Steyr held up in the background.
Yeah, it was really. That's okay. I mean,
I got to handle the Tavor though. I've handled the Steyr, and I'm sorry, Grant, but I have to handle the Tavor just to say that I have.
I shot a 9mm integrally suppressed Tavor, and that was one of the greatest rifles I've ever shot.
That'd be fun.
It was beautiful.
Actually, that would be fun. And
perfect. So Robert, we'll actually move on to you. What other guns besides that Tavor have you shot lately?
Well, over the winter, I finished my 9mm AR, running Glock mags, and I didn't have a Glock because I have a Steyr. I don't have a need for a Glock.
Yes.
So, but recently I decided to get one of those Polymer 80 frames, and just finished my Polymer 80 Glock yesterday. Took it out this morning for its first rounds. The first 50 were a little shaky. Failures of feed, not wanting to run very well. After I ran a bunch of Winchester white box through it, my next 2 mags ran perfectly. So now it's just a matter of sighting it in, getting used to it.
I'm wondering what the commercial equivalent of the Glock break-in grease is, because Glock come from the factory with that special grease.
Yeah, that gold-colored grease.
Yeah.
I don't know. I put some grease that I had on my bench on it. Just whatever lithium grease I had, ran it through it, and then when I got it back, wiped it down with Ballistol, and it seems to be okay.
Nice. Yeah, I mean that Polymer 80 frame, it came with the jig, right?
Yeah, it comes with a little jig that goes over top of it. You cut off 2 tabs on each side that prevent you from putting the frame rails in, and you drill 3 holes. And then there is a block where your recoil spring would ride that you have to cut out. And then you just set the frame rails in, put all your parts in, and hopefully it works. I made one mistake on one of the holes in the back. It was, I don't know, just a little bit off. So I had to go in and wallow it out a little bit so that the pin would drift in all the way through, but doesn't seem to cause any problems. Just looks a little funny.
Did you say wallow it out?
Yeah, that's a highly technical term. I'm an engineer, so I know everybody. Not everybody understand those things, but that is a technical engineering term. Wallowing it out.
Nice.
So what were the extent of the tools you needed for this? Because I mean, like, I've built 2 friggin' guitars. I have everything I need to build that. So why couldn't I build something like this? What did you need to get this finished?
I used a Dremel, a hand drill, and a pocket knife.
You hear that, Grant? He's a gunsmith.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't take much. All you're doing is you're removing something, and it's all internal.
I wish I had
really
the theme song to MacGyver queued up right now.
I mean, you could. I could have taken it down and used to my dad's and used his drill press to do cut the slide rails off. But
Okay.
I was here, and it was going to be a while until I got there, and I had all the parts, and I was impatient. I mean, really, you could do it with a hot, sharp knife to cut those top parts off. I saw one guy used a pair of snips to cut those the top rails down, and then I used a file. Sorry, I did use a file to get those down in a little piece of sandpaper.
And were you the one that talked about you put like 50 or 100 rounds through it and you got it worked in? Because there was a conversation between a couple people in the group.
Yeah.
Okay, talking about like the functionality and the reliability.
Yeah, the first few rounds didn't want to feed very well. I would have failures to feed. The slide wasn't coming all the way back to pick up the next round correctly, and or I'd stovepipe. After those first 2-3 mags, I put in my 124 grain reloads, and the next 2 mags of those ran fine. I mean, it's 2 magazines. It's not. I'm not saying it's perfect, but that's all I had time for today.
Right.
But 2 mags through it, and I didn't have my sight tool to adjust my sight, so I was just blasting away in the indoor range, and it ran fine so far.
Yeah, I gotta ask you, Grant, what do you think about these? Because I haven't ever actually talked to you about like the polymer 80s, but I mean, they seem to me to be a pretty viable option for someone who wants to do their own sort of like 80% Glock thing.
Well, I was sitting here listening to his description about how he put this together, and I was just making all kinds of agency arms jokes in my yeah, you're not going to get them as an advertiser.
I've got 5 or 6 friends who have made these, and I'm sure there are probably plenty of others, and they've had nothing but fantastic results.
I haven't actually seen one. I know that they're out there. I hear people putting them together and getting good results, but I haven't actually seen one.
It's gotten to the point where I'm kind of like, I really need to do it myself. But yeah. Robert's got one right there. Go ahead and say something, Robert, so it pops up on the screen.
It's there it is. It's a Brownell slide. It's a Faxon barrel. I really like the guys at Faxon. They make tremendous products. I've got them in my 9mm barrel, and it's lone wolf parts otherwise in it, and I probably got it too close. That helps. But it's got the undercut, it's got the stippling, it's got the rail. I don't know what I'm gonna do with that, but it's a ranged toy. That's all it is. It's not anything I'm gonna do anything else with it. Just play with it to range, but it's fun.
How much do you think you got into the entire build?
God, is my wife gonna listen to this? 119 for the lower. 2, 3, 4, $600 probably.
Okay.
I mean, I could have went out and bought a Glock and been money ahead, but I wouldn't have the cut. Well, I guess if I bought a Gen 5, I'd have the cut rifling. But it's just I wanted to buy a piece at a time and something to do.
Cool.
I mean, everybody, and the best part is you could, I know someone who took and bought 2 of the frames and had one slide, and they cut the grip of one of the frames down to a 19 or a 26 size and left the slide length the same, and had what Paul Carlson calls his Glock 18, quote unquote. Remember that, Grant?
Right.
Yeah. So having that extra frame, I mean, if you have the same slide fitted to the 2 frames, then you sort of have like a SIG type kind of thing with the 320.
Yeah.
And if you wanted a Glock and then you had intentions on putting aftermarket whatever on it, I mean, at that point you're money ahead by just buying what you want at the first place.
So could you? Is that slide fit right to that frame, or could you go ahead and buy another couple of the Polymer 80 frames and do them up in like the styles you wanted, maybe with shortened grips and stuff?
Yeah, you can do what. There is no hand fitting like on a 1911.
Okay.
Okay, it's not that complicated. It just, I mean, the only fitting I did was run the slide back and forth a few hundred times and then shoot through it.
Perfect.
So that's all the fitting is done to it.
I feel compelled to point out that there's no hand fitting on a Taurus 1911 either.
All right, so Daniel,
Yeah.
you're the next victim here.
Oh, okay. Well, definitely haven't been shooting. Basically, the last month I've been trying to move stuff out of the house to my new apartment, and that was a job. That was certainly about 91 18-gallon tubs full of magazines.
I was going to say, how many bookshelves did you have to build?
I've got 11 shelves. The bookcases have 5 shelves each, so there's 11 of those. There's 2 half-size ones that I still have to put together that I can fit into some empty spots. I think I could probably get one more full size in. So, but yeah, trying to sort out the magazines, that's going to be the hard part, because they're all over the tubs, and I don't know what's in which tub. So
you are the man who can come up with anything that we have questions about. That's basically anything. Like, someone can post a question in the Handgun Radio discussion group or in Loose Rounds or any of the other various groups on Facebook, and you will come up with the patent and who had it and when they filed it and the actual drawings.
Yeah, that's
and the vintage gun magazine article to go with.
Yes.
Yeah. That's been one of the greatest things Guns Magazine, American Handgunner ever did, was put those old issues up.
I have to say, though, Daniel, and this comes from me genuinely. You when you first came on the show, it took me a while to get you to come on the show, and you have a depth of knowledge and a passion for all this information that is unmatched by anybody I've ever spoken to or met. And so no matter how you feel about yourself coming on the show or anything like that, just know that there are hundreds, maybe thousands of people who appreciate your knowledge and really appreciate you coming on these shows whenever you can to spread that.
Thank you.
We really, really do appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, as I jokingly call myself, I've become the reference librarian for the gun community.
That you have.
Oh, that's very true. I'm always amazed at the amount of stuff that you keep in your head, and I can't imagine how you do it.
I don't know how I do it, to be honest. I seem to find things just right in time. I mean, I'll see something and someone will ask about it. It's like, oh yeah, boom. Or I'll be looking for one thing and I'll find something else. And I start pulling threads. You know, that's what I call it. It's like pulling threads out of a sweater or something.
Daniel's one of the first people, if someone sends me a picture of a gun and I have absolutely no idea what it is or have no clue of something, he's one of the first people I send it to.
Yep.
Things will be better once I can get my magazines back out and access them. But yeah, I spend more time reacting to what other people ask than actually writing on my own projects anymore.
So, Daniel, we are going to be having an episode with you on the 1911 again.
I was going to say the competition episode. That was pretty 1911 centric right there.
Yeah, we had an email we spoke about a couple episodes back with someone who said, "Oh, I'd love to hear a 1911 episode," and I'm like, "Haven't we done enough of the 1911?" and even Daniel emailed me. He goes, "I just listened to the show. I mean, I think we did enough, didn't we?" And I was like, "Well, maybe we need to go further." I know Grant. Maybe we should do an episode with Grant and Daniel, and Grant can speak about detonics.
Oh, geez. Detonics, one of my favorite topics.
So that would be fun. I think we'll have to organize that, but we will do that. However, Daniel, where have you been writing lately? Because I know people have been missing your writing from the Gun Zone.
Well, it's Sean over at looserounds.com. Basically, when Dean Spear first mentioned closing down the Gun Zone website, it's like, well, okay, where am I going to take this to? And I know Sean had asked me to submit articles before. I was thinking maybe Kevin Hognose over at weaponsman.com. And so it's basically coming down between those two sites. And I sent links to Dean. It's like, okay, I'm thinking about these two sites. What do you think? It's like, well, I like the way Loose Rounds looks. Like, boom, there we go. Unfortunately, Kevin died a few months after that. And so it's like, well, I guess that's kind of fortunate in a way, but then I chose Sean. But I figured I had more freedom in being able to directly edit my material instead of having to send it through someone else, as I had to do with through Dean in particular. And at least with Loose Rounds, I can just go right to the website editor and boom, 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 boom. Yeah, correction made. Move on.
And all the respect to Hognose over there. I mean, Weapons Man. I used to go to that website all the time, especially for stuff about like the what was it, the OICW he used to write on.
Yeah, he had the big series on the squad automatic weapons prototypes, not just the M249, but all the competitors to it. And yeah, it's very unexpected. I kept expecting to see something that's like, oh no, April Fools.
Right.
It's like, man, it's not the same without him.
Terrible loss. I mean, it's like I see the I see all the people that I used to watch on like Tales of the Gun and all the experts they had, and then I noticed like, oh, that person passed away, and then it's just like, oh, I mean, I remember watching him. When Arlie Ermy passed away, it was like, oh, I used to watch Arlie Ermy on Mail Call when I was growing up at like age 12 and 13.
And it's kind of shocking to think back. Yes, it's been that long. I
see Grant looking like, oh my God, 12 or 13. Grant, I'm only 20. I'm only 28 years old. You know that,
right? now you met Arlie Ermy like at SHOT Show or NRA show, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
I met him once at the, I think, 2015 NRA show. One of the most gracious people I had ever met in my life. And I did not expect that because I had watched Full Metal Jacket.
Well, I ran into him, I think, every SHOT Show. And I remember at one of them, he was going from something to the other. And I said, you got to be the hardest working guy in this room. And he was going from, appearance to appearance to appearance. It was amazing.
Yeah. Never seemed like it bothered him to take a second to talk to you, though.
No.
Some people, it's like, oh, yeah. But never seemed to bother him.
Nope.
So, Daniel, any guns you're looking forward to seeing?
Oh, that's the unfortunate thing. I'm really not. That's like, I was looking at SHOT Show covers, like, it's basically variations on stuff that already existed. Like,
had a hard time staying awake.
Yeah, it's like, oh, they made it in a new color. Oh, great.
I am kind of looking at that NA. Have you seen the NAA that 4-barrel Derringer thing? That's kind of exciting.
I haven't seen it, but what is it like the old Mossberg Brownie?
Yeah, no. What the hell was it?
Or the Cop?
Was it Ivor Johnson or was it who did that? Jordan, you should know this.
Well, Colt had those too at one point, I think. Or at least
I'll send you a link to it later. I'll send you a link to it later. Yeah, I'm sure you'll look up the patent for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, SHOT Show was very devoid of basically anything that was exciting in my eyes, at least.
Well, yeah, you notice the snarky remarks I was making before SHOT Show. Like someone's going to bring out a Glock, custom Glock with a light kit in it, so it could glow purple, or neon colors out of the slide cuts,
After a while, it's just kind of depressing walking down the aisles because when you turn a corner what you're going to see, and there just isn't a lot of stuff that's really exciting to look at, not from my standpoint. And I guess maybe I'm jaded after a while, but there's just nothing much there that's really exciting to me.
Is it because sales have been so high for guns in the last few years that they haven't spent time innovating? They're just trying to catch up.
I think that's probably a lot of it.
Here's kind of my feeling on it. So the really, really high profile stuff is going to make it to your local gun shop. So your SIG P365 is going to make it to your local gun shop. Your latest Glock, your latest SIG, or your latest whatever is going to make it to your local gun shop. You're going to see all these other things at the show, at NRA show or SHOT Show or whatever, from like maybe Rock Island or someone else. That's going to be interesting, but you might see it at your gun shop, but you might not. So yeah, everybody's going to say, "Oh, I have not seen a Kimber in my area once."
Wow, my local LGS has a bunch of them.
Which is weird because my local gun shop gets basically everything. They have like the latest stuff, and I've not seen a Kimber K6 revolver anywhere, even down south.
Yeah, last time I was in, they had 3 or 4 of the models there. I actually got to handle one. It was pretty decent.
Right, which is messed up. But then they have gotten the SIG P365. They've gotten the latest Springfields. They've gotten the latest Glocks, the latest everything else. But, some guns that you see at NRA show may not be getting spread as wide as they should be. So some people may not see that innovation. People that don't get to go to NRA show, people that don't read the magazines and know what's out there. They go to their local shop and they see whatever. So some guns just may die because of lack of exposure.
Yeah, I could see that.
Well, then a lot of people don't go into their local shop. They go into Cabela's or
dear
Walmart.
God.
I mean, my only local gun store is the Farm and Home.
The only reason that I like the Cabela's down in Scarborough is because my friend is the manager of the gun library, and I can go in and handle any gun that they brought in. But the crap stuff that they have out on the main floor, yeah, I'm good.
Oh yeah, the only thing to buy in Cabela's is primers.
I got to hold a Webley Fosbury that they had one time.
Oh, there you go.
Ooh.
Which was messed up. I don't know why they had that.
Did they have it priced way too high or way too low?
I don't know.
It's Cabela's. It'll be way too high.
I was surprised it wasn't at Julia's, to be honest with you. But yeah. So
Cabela's is weird. You'll go in their gun room and they'll have like a Taurus curve next to a, some kind of like, original East German P210 or something.
Well, they're the same, aren't they?
Pretty much. One's just kind of bendy.
All right. So thank you, Daniel, very much. And again, thank you for everything. And also, Grant, thank you for everything. You've been an asset to this show from day one.
Need to do it.
Brett, what have you shot lately?
Actually, the last roundtable I participated in, quite some time ago, I had said I was looking at the new CZ pistols.
You CZ fans, oh my god!
I've never owned one. I wanted to see what all the hype was about, and I bought a Shadow 2, and I've had it. I've had it out to a couple of matches. You know, I'm not a super big competitive shooter, but I participate in some local matches, and I gotta say, I really, really like it a lot. So I'm looking forward to shooting it the rest of the summer and seeing how it does.
So CZ Shadow 2. Good Lord, I need to look this up. What does the 2 mean?
It's a second generation. So I originally wanted the first Shadow from a few years ago, but you talk about going into the local gun stores. I could never find one around here. And actually, one of the shop owners that I do business with on a regular basis called me and said, "Hey, I got a Shadow 2 and it's a trade-in and you need to come look at it." And
looks like it has some very thin grips.
Yeah, they're aluminum.
Do you have the blue ones or the dark ones?
No, I've got the all black.
Okay. Well, I'm colorblind, so I don't really care. But no, yeah, I see like a light bluish and then a light black.
Yeah, I'm really happy with it so far. I've been shooting polymer striker fired pistols primarily. So to go over to something of this size, one of the things I noticed, when you're shooting it, you don't get much barrel lift at all compared to some of the other guns I've been shooting. So I like it a lot.
Yeah, that's basically CZ's IPSC production cheater model.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it has everything you want, but you can still call it a production gun. So but as popular as it is in competition, I've not seen one at any of the matches here in North Carolina. So I had quite a few people come up to me on Saturday and say, "Hey, is that the new Shadow 2?" So it was a lot of fun.
Now, what's the magazine capacity on that?
I've got +2. It's 17, but I'm using Metgar. I've had really good luck with Metgar magazines over the years, and I've got some +2, so they hold 19.
Okay. How's the hammer on that? Looks kind of tiny.
I don't thumb back the hammer, so I really don't know. I'll take it off safe. That's the only thing that I want to change on it. The safety that it came with is fairly small, so I have a rough time hitting it, and I would like to, switch it out to something that was a little bit easier to engage.
Well, that's the thing with CZ75s and their variants. That the safety is so far forward. You have to have thumbs that fit it, or it's just not going to work for you very well.
Yeah. If I had one complaint, that's it. And my other DASA gun is a SIG P226 with a decocker, and I actually kind of, maybe it's just because I'm more used to that, but I like the decocker feature. So you can decock the hammer, holster it, and then when you draw it, you've just got that double action pull, and you're good to go. So it'll take some getting used to, but I like to be a little bit different. So I wanted to shoot something other than a polymer striker fired. And it's not like I'm going to win the Cadillac at these matches anyway. I just go out to have fun. So
you better damn well win at these matches, Brett. You're talking on Handgun Radio. I'm not going to have a guest on here that's not winning.
Hey, so I got to share this real quick. So my daughter started shooting about a year ago with me, and Saturday she actually beat me by 2 places in the match we shot. So she shoots a M&P 1522, and she beat me fair and square by 2 places and beat about 9 other adults. So I'm really, really proud of her. So,
Jeez.
and the gun I'm looking forward to is the new Marlin 1894 in 357. I've wanted one of these for a very long time, but the used ones, the 1894Cs around me, they're tend to be priced very high, and they still sell very quickly on the used market. So I'm very much looking forward to Marlin catching up to demand with production on these. So that's what I'm looking forward to this year.
Now, do those feed the 38 specials well? Or do you need to stick with 357?
Grant.
It depends. They are somewhat sensitive to cartridge overall length. I've found that generally, if you're using a bullet with a relatively long nose, some 158 grain semi-wad cutters, for instance, which are a little on the longer side, that they will feed a little better. But if you're expecting it to feed like 125 grain or 135 grains with a relatively short bullet, they may not, unless they've changed some things with the new version that they're putting out. I would hope so. There are people who specialized in tuning these things for cowboy action, running short 38 special loads. I've got a couple of them. I've had fairly good luck with one. The other one really has a lot of trouble feeding specials. And so there was a little bit of a luck of the draw there.
Who wants to see an M1 carbine that can shoot 357 Magnum? Raise your hand.
I do. I do.
I've heard about those mystical conversions. Didn't those happen, Daniel, in the 50s? Like people converting
60s,
them?
60s, yeah.
60s?
Mostly the 60s.
Did they work?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I saw recently, I don't know if you're familiar with, there's a German gunsmith by the name of Herbert Verl, he's better known for his Luger conversions. And he's done some really wacky Luger conversions, like trying to make it look like an M4 carbine or a Kalashnikov. But he also does some really classic Lugers as well. But one of his recent projects that he's been showing on YouTube has been a one carbine converted to 357 Magnum. However, he took a Desert Eagle magazine and basically used a 15 round GI style mag, 30 carbine mag, as the outer portion, and just kind of either crimped or somehow affixed the Desert Eagle mag into that, so it would work with the standard carbine magazine release. Now, at least what he's showing on YouTube, he's kind of still trying to tweak the gas system, I think, to get it to work right. So,
Daniel, I remember that back in the 60s, Universal chambered the carbine in 256 Win Mag.
Mm-hmm.
Did they ever do it in 357?
I want to say that they did.
I kind of
had a proprietary magazine, though. It was only like a 5-shot magazine. I think it was plastic. It was like a single stack magazine. So kind of the same concept of what the German gunsmith is doing. Really, what someone needs to do is just make one with a trigger group with a dedicated mag well for something like a Desert Eagle magazine.
Yeah.
Great, you should do that.
I've actually thought of picking up a cheap Universal, because Universals are always cheap, and doing the 256 Win Mag conversion on it, just to have something that nobody else did. And every once in a while, I sort of revisit that in my head, but you'll notice I haven't done it yet.
Well, Guy Neal was talking about having tried to make a rimless version of the 256. He actually had a 256 carbine, but he was cutting down 223 brass and necking it down in the 256 windbag die.
Interesting.
I don't know if he ever actually got that put together, but he was talking about it back in the late 90s.
That's an interesting idea, actually. Huh. Oh, I'll have to look into that.
So
I was going to say I have my article on carbine wildcats, on like all the different things people have tried to chamber the M1 carbine for. And so, yeah, that comes up in that.
So Jordan, Mr. Gunwriter's son, Mr. Waffle House.
I didn't do it.
Yeah. no.
I keep my clothes on when I go to Waffle House.
I was going to say, the last time you and I met, we were sitting in the booth at Waffle House with Weird, you, your father, and I'm sitting there like, oh my God, I'm sitting here having breakfast with a gun writer I've been reading for years, Mr. William Bell, and here's his son like, why don't you order that thing? That's really cool. And I'm like, I've never been here. I'm from Maine. We don't have these.
Nice.
That was basically my first experience of meeting Jordan.
Waffle House. Yeah.
So, Jordan, what have you shot recently?
We
what
wrapped
haven't
up...
you shot recently?
Oh yeah. Whew. Well, I know this is handgun radio, but the last stuff that I shot were all rifles and carbines. We had that very curious article that's comparing 5 almost entirely dissimilar carbines and trying to prove which one's better. Anyway, that was interesting. It got me a lot of new photography gear to try and get the pictures, but so basically, to answer your question, I shot the pump action Troy 223. I shot some sort of Italian lever action 444 Marlin called a Bore Buster. I shot a yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
as Doc Wesson would say, that's a hoss.
Yeah, it was interesting. Some weird sights on it too. Very far forward.
I'm very surprised that an Italian manufacturer would make one of those in 444.
Yeah, it was like Pedersoli, maybe. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, it was somebody. And then we did a 357 Colt Lightning, Taylor's and Company, which that was really, really, really nice.
Was there a disconnector?
I almost didn't want to. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to try that with the really, really expensive one. It was hard enough to hold it and keep all the fingerprints off everything super shiny. So I'm trying to take the pictures. And then we had a Henry, 45 Colt Henry, the big boy. I want to say it was the steel. And then we had a. Oh yeah, everybody's favorite, that nasty little synthetic Mossberg lever action.
The
30-30. The thing with the Tapco looking stuff on it, but it was actually pretty cool.
Magpul threw up on it.
No, if Magpul threw up on it, it actually probably would have been a little bit better, but
Tapco threw up on that one.
Yeah, Tapco did.
Sorry, Magpul. My apologies.
Now I'm a Mossberg guy, so I can't be too down on it. It's kind of like a high point. It's hideous to look at, but when you shoot it, it's really not that bad. And they had a good idea with that. They just needed to not look at Kel-Tex as a reference point.
Need to get a really long paper bag to put it in to shoot.
You just wear a mask at the gun range so no one knows who you are.
That's what you're looking for in a gun. It's not that bad.
So yeah, we did a bunch of rifles. I'm about to shoot a bunch of pistols. So when I say shoot, I mean shoot as in pull triggers and press shutter releases. So right now I just got done, if you can see in my I just got done with the little Ranger 2. I finished photography on this today. And my next one is...
You left your Schofield in the dryer too long.
Right? Yeah, so now I've got this Witness Match Pro in 10 millimeter, which is really, really nice. I'd never actually... I mean, I've handled CZs, but I've never actually shot one, and I hear all the amazing stuff about them and how it's the hipster gun to have. But I knew that the Tang Folios have been around for a long time, and I actually kind of wanted a Tang Folio 10 millimeter when I was a kid a lot. I just thought they were really cool, and so now that we've got this Match P 14 rounder. It's got a polymer lower. I'm actually kind of really looking forward to shooting it. It's got some great ergonomics inherent to the gun design. Obviously, the
Nice.
CV family.
So, did your dad do any work with the swing out cylinder, North American?
Oh yeah. We got so some of the pictures that I took for our gun blog, the firing pin. I got side by sides with the Sidewinder and the Ranger 2. I've actually got my little Sidewinder right up here. I had this at church with me today. Yeah, so we've got a Sidewinder and we've got the what is it, the swing out or whatever, the 4-inch version. We did a little piece about that being like a nice little snake blaster if you're walking around or whatever, because what else are you gonna do with a 4-inch NAA?
But they lock up nice and tight, like no problems with timing, anything like that.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, it's a typical NAA. It's small but very well crafted.
Nice.
You have probably seen stuff on the internet about people popping it open. We're talking about the Ranger 2 specifically, right?
I was talking about the swing out or the Ranger 2, but
oh yeah, no, it on the Sidewinder that locks up nice. It could stand to be a little stronger, but they would have to make a bigger gun for it to be as strong as one would truly want. I mean, you're not going to be sitting there doing combat reloads with your NAA. Mainly that swing out cylinder is going to help you when you're at the range, cut a couple minutes off your reload time there.
Right.
But now with this Ranger 2, I mean, you're still not going to be doing combat reloads by far, but one of the nicer features is that it has the auto ejection. So if you crank this sucker all the way open, it will it will at least assist in spitting your empties out. Whereas with the Sidewinder, it doesn't really do that per se, at least not automatically.
Because you got to punch it open like you would with a normal swing out.
Right. There ain't a whole lot to punch out with it either. It's a little tiny thing. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to shooting that. I'm looking forward to shooting the Witness here, this EAA Tang Folio. And we're actually putting this Witness alongside the High Point 10 millimeter. So I took some pictures of that recently too, just to see if they'd break my camera or not. I swear they're fun guns to shoot. They're fun guns to own for, the price, but they've been around long enough. They could have come up with a little bit more of an aesthetic by now, or at least a double stack magazine, please. I just can't figure that one out, but whatever.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, just one last thing that, other than the stuff that I've talked about, one of the things I've handled and shot most recently are the Lipsies GP100s. And we did the 327 Federal and the 44 Special. And both of those are amazing guns, and they're not going back. So if you see one, pick it up. It's awesome.
Those actually look really, really nice. I saw the 327 And how many rounds were in that 327?
7.
7. Okay. And
Isn't the 44 special is 5 rounds, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, those are really, really sharp revolvers. So definitely check those out. The Firing Pen is their site, and there are links in the show notes, and there will be links on the Facebook page as well. So, Dustin.
Yes, sir.
You are a listener, first time on the show, so welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. You came in. We didn't get to introduce you earlier on. What have you shot lately?
Well, I shot my first USPSA match today, and I've done IDPA in the past, and I use my Springfield XDM 5 1/4 9mm. Runs flawlessly, and I didn't do too bad. I was more concerned with the safety aspect of the match today, but other than that, I did have a blast.
Yeah, you've gone further than me. There's really no matches around me for me to shoot, but
we have a good selection. Yeah. I live in northern Indiana, and there's some over by Fort Wayne, and up in Michigan is actually where I went, just across the border. So they have a really good club up there. It's called Bend of the River. They host quite a few big matches for the year.
Yeah, Jordan is down there in Indianapolis, right?
Yeah. Nice, Indiana. Represent.
Yeah, I'm up just next to South Bend, so I'm not over there, but I'm pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, people are gonna rag on me for not shooting competition, but I mean, there really just isn't that much for me around here.
Yeah, I mean, without making a drive, if there wasn't this close, I'd have a hard time doing it because I usually work nights, and I had 3 hours of sleep last night before getting up and headed up there. So, but I've also, a couple weeks ago, I picked up my first J-frame. I walked into a shop just looking around. They had one in the used rack, and it was a 642, and I doubt it had been fired very much. And I talked to the owner, and he gave me a price I couldn't pass up. So now I have a J-frame in my pocket.
Now, which one's that?
That's the 642. Got the concealed hammer on it.
That's a good choice. There's never a bad J-frame. That's basically my mantra.
Yep, I can understand that.
So, the 642 is a great option for people who don't want the LCR. Is that how it goes, Jordan?
Am I muted? Nope.
No, you're not.
I'm not muted. Yay. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Why not?
I need weird here.
Yeah, I was about to say we need weird here for waxing poetic on the LCR. I like them, but I don't worship at the altar.
No, you're gonna have good performance with that J-frame, and so you're shooting in IDPA. What did you start out with? Is that the gun you started out with, or have you upgraded?
Nope, I've had that gun for let's see here, 7 years now. I bought it used, and I've how many thousands of rounds just plinking with it, and some steel plate shoots that I used to go to quite often. I don't think I've had one issue with it. I've upgraded the magazine springs because they were wore out, and I threw a recoil spring in it last year. Other than that, I mean, it's a very, very sweet, very accurate gun. And I do carry it. I have a inside the waistband holster, a Galco King Tuck, and I'm a bigger guy, and that goes underneath my belt. And with a nice cover garment, I carry that thing all day long.
I've gotten a little bit of hate mail for people saying I hate on the XD, but honestly, every one that I've shot, I don't mind.
Yep, and then I also own an XDS, the 4-inch. And, when it's warmer outside and, I'm going to conceal a little bit more, I can use the tuckable holster and tuck that away, and it disappears. So
no, any
I'm
problem?
really happy with them.
Go ahead.
I've actually heard a
I
lot
did-
of good stuff about that XDE, the little hammer cocked one.
The hammer fired one that looks like it has the growth on the back.
Yeah, I've actually heard that it's a very pleasant gun to shoot, and it.
I know I'm doing the thing that I tell people they shouldn't do. Don't judge the gun before you shoot it.
I have an XD mod too, and it shoots fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, the mod 2, I mean, I shot what the hell's that one that's in 45 auto, the little slim one, the 4.0, do they make that in 45 auto? Or is it still 9mm only?
Yeah, I think it's just 9 right now.
XDS.
There's a guy that I know has got a single stack XD in 45 auto.
Yeah, that's the
little
XDS.
6-shot.
Okay, yeah, little 6-shot, yeah. And I shot that thing, and that thing was nice. It was accurate. The trigger was nice. It didn't. The recoil was controllable. I was really impressed with it for a small handgun.
Yeah, I've got about 1,500 rounds through my XDS. I've taken a couple gunfighting classes with it down at Bright Firearms Training in Indianapolis with Aaron Bright and one of the other guys, and I had that gun. I doubt I had 100 rounds through it, and I took that class, and it ran flawless, and I have yet to have an issue with it.
How's your feeling on the grip safety?
I don't mind it. Like I said, I've never had an issue, and one thing I like about it is when I'm reholstering, my thumb goes on the back of the slide, which engages the grip safety, and that reduces the risk of having something get under the trigger guard and you're not paying attention, if that does happen, and having a ND in your leg.
Well, and on the XT series, without the grip safety down, you can't retract the slide, right?
On the XDS, you can't. On the XD, or excuse me, on the XDM, you can't. The XDS, you can.
Okay.
It's backwards.
Yeah, I had that XDS in 45 for a while, and I was surprised how well it handled the 45 ACP in that small of a gun.
Yeah, it's super tiny.
Yeah, I did have light primer strikes in mine. I traced that back to having some oil in the striker channel. So one thing I would suggest is make sure that that striker channel needs to be dry.
Yeah, it's just like the Glock. It comes apart real easy, and you clean it out. That's the first thing I did when I got it, because I've heard the same thing. You clean it out, and then I keep it clean. Once a year, I go through it and give it a good detail. So
excellent. And any guns you're looking forward to before we wrap up?
I would like Ruger to bring out the Mark IV in the 10-inch target model again. I have a 10-inch Mark II that I absolutely love. And I'd like to have another one that's just a little bit easier to take down. So that's something I'd like for them to bring out.
No, let me give you the list of things I'd like Ruger to bring out.
I wish they'd quit. I can't keep up as it is.
Well, that PC9 carbine, I've been bitching about that for ever since I started this show, I think. And they finally came out with that. I'm like, why can't they do that? And then they came... I don't know why they can't do an LCP in 22 long rifle. Why can we not have an LCP in 22 long rifle?
Or how about a Mark IV in 22 mag?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That'd be
Let's
something.
have both. Sell them in a case.
There you go.
In case. There we go. How about something the style of the PC9 takedown in 223? For people who don't want to buy an AR, because I'm on the side of people who may not want to buy an AR.
They have that. It's called a Mini 14.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a Mini 14.
Mini 14 takedown.
There you go.
Yeah, that's going to be a little more difficult.
How about a PC carbine with a 357 rotary mag?
Ooh, okay.
No, there's an idea.
There we go. That you're thinking, my friend. That's what we need right there. Imagine a Ruger Ruger Deerfield. With the polymer and the takedown.
I was kind of surprised no one made a accessory mag well for that would take like Desert Eagle mags. But
isn't the rotary mag the reason they didn't have the rim lock issues?
I think so.
Daniel.
Well, yeah, again, they already had the magazine design from like the 7744 and the 9644. So I have to admit, I had a hankering for the 7744. The local gun shop that back in the 90s had one. It looked like a baby African Express rifle.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna type a letter to Ruger, and it's gonna say Daniel Waters wants a Ruger PC-44 with a full Mannlicher style stock. Maybe.
Ruger used to be so good at like aping other people's designs for so long. Maybe they should revive that Bennett and Morgan design from Winchester. Yeah.
Ruger is going to go places in the next few years, I have a feeling. So with that, I'm sure sage wisdom that everybody's going to follow on, we'll head into the wrap-up section and close up the show. Don't forget to shop Brownells using our affiliate link. Head to firearmsradio.tv and click the affiliate link in the upper right-hand corner. Be sure to go like Handgun Radio on Facebook and share it with your friends, and leave us a review on iTunes. Listen to all the great shows on the Firearms Radio Network, and be sure to check out the Firearms Radio Network on YouTube. And everybody, I'll thank you individually because you took the time to come on. So thank you, Brett.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Daniel, for everything and for saving my ass numerous times.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Dustin.
Hey, thank you for all your episodes. I'm just about caught up on all 200 of them now. So,
oh, you poor man.
I sit in the driver behind the steering wheel for 8 hours a day. I have to have something to do.
Oh, thank you, Jason. How's it going?
Oh, good. Thank you, Ron.
I got two J names to remember. So
I really enjoyed being on. I really enjoyed the show, and thanks a lot.
Thank you for everything. And Jordan, thank you very much.
Hey, no problem, dude.
And Robert, or Bob, sorry. Good Lord, you're going to beat me now.
Yeah.
Bob, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
And Grant, I know you're not on the show live anymore, but thank you very much for everything, for always being a supporter and sharing your knowledge and pissing people off with your revolver talk. Always really enjoyed it. And Weird, as always, thank you so much for being my co-host. Show would not be the same without you. And to everybody else, TJ and Chris from Bayside Custom Gun Works, Shan from Works Holsters, and everybody, Volquartz and Custom. I can't even run off the list. Thank you, everybody, for 200 episodes. We really appreciate it. So, as we said 200 times before, until next week, have fun and safe shooting.